The picture on the left is me drawing 1 year ago. That's my first attempt drawing something. The picture on the right is something I drew yesterday. If you want to know how I got from here to here in 1 year, I'm going to cut to the chase. No fancy intros. We're going to get right into it. These are called sketchbooks. You should have, to me, a minimum of 3. One book is completely for what's called gesture drawing. You should do 30 minutes to an hour a day. This just means looking at pictures online or buying books full of people posing, or however you want to take pictures of yourself with your phone, posing, and you just draw gestures. Gestures are, in a nutshell, they are just poses with no details. You don't add any kind of details, you don't add any kind of color, you don't add even facial expressions, really. You just draw the outlines. This is me just having one book for just gestures. This gets you used to the human form, how it moves, what it looks like from different angles. Like, see, here's a view of one like from sort of the bottom looking up, as if the camera is looking up at a person and they're jumping up. Here's one sort of looking down, as if the camera was above the person looking down. The other book you should have is one just for anatomy. This book here is me taking pictures from a book called Morpho. Morpho is this book here. It is literally filled with thousands of images. You don't have to do any of the reading because it basically just tells you the names of the muscles, and you basically draw exactly what you see. Have a book that's just for anatomy. Spend about 30 minutes to an hour a day drawing anatomy. And as you can see, this book begins with anatomy all the way through. It covers anatomy. It's basically, you pick a topic that day. It might be arms or legs, and you just draw arms and legs exactly as you see them in the book. And then you close the book and you draw exactly what you saw, but from memory. So you might pick something like this. You'll draw these hands. Draw exactly the hand. You can even put tracing paper on it if you want. Try to draw it just by looking at it, a piece of paper off to the side. Then cover it up, close the book, right? And draw it again from memory as best you can. It's going to suck for several months until you get the hang of it. The third book you should have is just for funsies. This is just me kind of drawing for fun. Literally, maybe I see a lampshade, I decide I'm going to draw a lamp. I see a face or some kind of manga or comic book character I want to draw, or I draw from my own imagination, trying to have some fun, and sometimes mixing in the anatomy that I've been learning, and you just have fun with it. And then the last thing you'll want to do with it to learn how to draw is you'll want to do what's called an artist study. An artist study is about what it sounds like. I'm going to take a book right now from Mike Mignola and show you guys. This is a book from Mike Mignola, who created Hellboy. In this book, he has picture after picture that is his style. So you get to go through and look at his style. You get to copy it. And you'll notice that's exactly what I did with this picture right here. I drew this from Mike Mignola's book. I then covered this up so I couldn't see it, and I tried to draw that again from memory over here. So you see over here, this is me drawing this, trying in my mind, draw the same thing essentially. You know, I wasn't trying to be super exact, but I was trying to recall every piece of detail. I remembered some of the shading. I did it on the left side instead of the right. I remember the bubble head. I remember sort of had the feet were roughly shaped, and I just kind of did my own thing. Then over here, you can see in the top right-hand corner, I just created a creature all of my own. And I used some of the shading techniques that I learned from Mike Mignola by doing what he does in his sketches. Okay, so all that being said, what did I do? I had 3 sketchbooks, and at one point I ended up getting 4. One book for just gesture drawing. The other book just for anatomy, using the books that I've shown you. The third book to draw for fun, whatever I wanted to draw. And of course, no video about drawing would be complete without George Bridgman's Complete Guide to Drawing from Life. This thing is roughly, I think, 1,000 page, or has 1,000 pictures in it. Everything I've ever heard from any artist who's ever made it, in comics at least, and in illustration in general, basically took this book, they drew every single thing in it, and I mean every single hand you see, every single leg you see, exactly the way George Bridgman drew it, and then you close the book and you try to draw it again from memory. David Finch and a number of other artists who are successful in the comic book industry will say that they've never heard of an artist that didn't do this and who made it. All the successful artists they know in the comics industry and the illustration industry, all of them went through George Bridgman's book and drew exactly what he drew, closed the book, and then tried to draw it again from memory. Now you may be saying, like just like I did, why the heck would I do this when a leg doesn't really look like that? It's hard to explain, but I will try to explain it for the person who's not experienced it. It's all about the experience of drawing the human body in a way that is structural, that gets your mind understanding, gets your brain to recall lines, and sort of it's almost like an exaggerated body, so you'll remember those exaggerations because they will help you remember where muscles go and where legs connect. And like when it's time, like you get to the end of a leg here, let's say, right? You get to the end of this knee, you'll know when it's time to draw the knee, roughly how the knee is shaped, and then when it's time to start drawing the calf muscle at what angle. It's kind of hard to explain. Like that's the best way I can say it's. The other way I've heard it explained, which also kind of helped me, is when you try to draw something like a car, right? Let's see, I'll grab a pencil here, let's see. And someone tells you to draw a car. I'll just draw right here in my own book. What do they draw? They draw two circles. I don't know if you guys can see that, right? There's the wheels. And they'll draw something that looks, like this maybe. And they'll put a little steering wheel on it or something. And they'll go, well, I know what a car looks like, but I can't draw it. They'll say, I know what a car, why do I know what a car looks like? But I can't pull it from my memory and make it come out of my pencil. Why is that? It's because you haven't drawn enough to make your eyes match make your hands match what your brain has sort of taken in. And it's kind of tricky. Our brains deceive us. We think we have these perfect memories, but we really don't. We remember the color, the general shape of things, but not really how they fit together like a Lego block. And this breaks it down, and I'm telling you, it looks boring, but if you really like drawing and you want to get better at it, this actually becomes very fun. It becomes like Legos. And you don't have to read any of this. You can if you want to. You just draw the pictures and then just try to see what he was doing and why he was doing it. The last piece of wisdom I'll leave you with is something I was told by a martial arts instructor of mine many years ago. He said, you want to think the thought the thinker was thinking when the thinker thought the thought. Now, before you go, wait, what? Say that again. I don't understand. I'll say it again. You want to think the thought the thinker was thinking when the thinker thought the thought. So when the thinker thought, I'm going to put this line here, I'm going to draw this, or a master pianist who says, when the master was, the thinker was, I'm going to play the notes like this. Or a martial artist is making a technique, and I'm going to throw the punch like this. You need to train in such a way, not that you just necessarily, start doing whatever you want. You first have to mimic them. You have to fake it until you make it. And one day it will click. You will see why George Bridgman was teaching people to draw like this. And my style looks, you can look, my style looks basically nothing like that. Some of them might look, some of the edges, might look Bridgman-esque, But none of this looks like George Bridgman. It mostly looks like a little bit of Mike Mignola mixed with a little bit of Todd McFarlane, but manga sort of. Like it's a different style that I combined by doing artist studies. So I'm going to give you your exact regimen, your exact training regimen. Ready? I'm going to put it on the screen here. Your exact regimen every day if you want to go again as far as I came, which was pretty far, right? I started out drawing like this 1 year ago. Like that's what I was drawing like 1 year ago. And that's as much as I could do. I couldn't even imagine drawing any shadowing, shading. I couldn't even imagine like adding any details in the background. I couldn't imagine giving her an angry expression, a smiling expression. I couldn't imagine her hands. And I couldn't imagine drawing chains. I couldn't imagine drawing these tentacles, the ship down here, the monster up here, the creature. I couldn't even imagine that. So here's your homework. Every single day, you're going to do 5 to 10 minutes of drawing straight lines, as straight as you can, and circles and cubes, very basic shapes. That's just 5 or 10 minutes to warm you up. Then you're going to go into, open up your sketchbook that's for gestures. You're going to just draw for about 30 minutes. You're going to draw gestures. I recommend making them around a minute, maybe a minute and a half, so you time yourself. And you just draw for those 20, 30 minutes. There are some people who suggest that you take the 6-month gesture challenge, which I did do. That's where you draw gestures you draw 60 of them, spending no more than 1 minute on them for 1 hour. So in 1 hour, right, you're going to draw 60 gestures, spending 1 minute each on, and every time the timer goes off, you jump to the next gesture. I did that for 6 months, and it helped me immensely. And I'm going to do it again because I think it'll help me even more if I do it again. But now I warm up with about 20 or 30 minutes of gestures. You're going to be doing 20 or 30 minutes, maybe an hour, of anatomy. You're going to try to draw things anatomically, getting musculature down as best you can, right? Okay, this is every day you're going to do this. Okay, then you're going to open up the book that is just for fun. That's where you draw things that are just for fun, right? This is me just drawing things for fun. Not exactly doodling. I'm having fun. I was drawing some fish heads here. Then I was drawing a woman with a basketball from a weird perspective, just to screw around, right? Just to mess around. I'm going to do that to my heart's content. You can do that for 10 minutes. You can do that for 4 hours. I don't care how long you do it. That's what you do. Okay? Then you're going to do some point during the day, you're going to wind down, try to slow it down and relax, and just chill. And you're basically going to pick an artist. I pick an artist and go through every 2 weeks. I'll pick one artist. So for 2 weeks, I did Mike Mignola. I just did, basically, I'd open up a page, and I would just say, hey, let's study. I'm going to draw that exactly. Then I'm going to close the book, and I'm going to draw it again as best I can from memory. And then I'll maybe draw it a third time playing around, like sort of draw it from memory, but just playing around, like maybe give it a longer neck just to mess around, but try to keep it in Mike Mignola style. Draw that for 2, and I'll close the book up. After 2 weeks, I'll put this book away, and I'll pick another artist to copy. You can an artist study. I mean, when simplified, it is, yes, you're just copying another artist. But you're trying to think the thought that the thinker was thinking when the thinker thought the thought. You're trying to think like them. And you'll notice some of the shading here. Look at this on her arm. Without me even realizing it, I had absorbed some of Mike Mignola's tendencies, his knowledge a little bit. And some of the shading on her is like Hellboy, like Mike Mignola in those drawings you just saw. This is his shading. And I didn't really mean to do that. I drew that in by doing it through repetition. I just made, this is me having fun, combining skills that I've learned. And then People will say I've read different things about taking a break, like 1 day a week where you don't draw at all. That's perfectly fine. Me personally, I love drawing so much that I basically draw every single day for at least a couple of hours, doing exactly what I just told you. 20 or 30 minutes of gesture at minimum, 20 or 30 minutes of anatomy at minimum, 20 or 30 minutes of minimum drawing for fun, like whatever I want, and then a minimum of 20 or 30 minutes drawing um, by an artist, like doing an artist study. So at minimum, you're looking at 2 hours there. But at max, I'll put in 5 or 6, 7, 8 hours a day if I have the whole day off. I'll be listening to a podcast or have a TV show that I like I have it in the background. I'm just playing something on Netflix like Breaking Bad or Parks and Rec, something that makes me feel fun, like makes me feel good, a funny TV show that's just making me feel good and warm and all kinds of fuzzies while I've got my art going on. And it's just relaxing. It puts you in a nice little state. That is my recommendation for training. Again, the results are undeniable. If you think that, well, I don't know if that, that doesn't sound, well, I'm telling you, look at the image on the left and then look at the image on the right. Now, this on the right here is not the most fantastic piece of art in the world. That's not what I'm saying. But it is leaps and bounds beyond this. I mean, if this is where you are right now, or you're even worse than this, don't worry. I got you. I got you covered. It depends on how much you want to draw. Do you just like doodling? Okay, then do whatever you want. But if you want to get good, like where you're drawing your own manga, or you're drawing whatever, if you want to draw cartoons, this is just me drawing comic book style. You do the exact same process to get good for drawing. If you want to draw like little cartoony characters like Charlie Brown and get good at it, then you would study Charles Schulz, the artist for Charlie Brown. You would just study his art, but then also study like Garfield or just study old school detective comics to get that cartoony feel. You'll study Pixar and things like that, all their little cartoon characters, to try and get an understanding of why the artist, the thinker, was thinking that thought when they decided that to draw lines like that was more beautiful to the eye or to them. Why did they do that? And it takes time. It takes a little bit of time. So that's the process. I highly recommend that if you are lost right now, you simply do it. The process I just outlined, again, I'm going to have it up on the screen. I'll actually put it in my thumbnail as well, to show you that, yeah, this is possible. It is possible to get better. It's just time in and time out. And the last piece of wisdom I'll tell you, if you think you can't get good at anything, you're wrong and you're being very stupid, because I know you've gotten good at stuff you don't even like to do. Those of you who bag groceries at Publix, those of you who stock the shelves at grocery stores, you have gotten so good at running the cash register at Home Depot, and you don't even want to be there. You don't even want to work there. But it's automatic, isn't it? You can do it in your sleep. Like when you bag groceries at the job you hate, or let's say you work on an assembly line, and you hate that job, you've gotten so good at putting the parts where they go on that assembly line that you don't even think about it. It's like after 6 months in, and that's just you doing like 8 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week, right? And you hate the job. Imagine if you put in 3 or 4, 5, 6 hours a day drawing or doing martial arts, something you love, and you do it for a straight year. I promise you, you will go from this to this or better, depending on how much time you put in. This was me putting in about 3 hours a day and around that. And then some days, if I had all day long to chill, I would put in like 6 hours or maybe an 8 or 9 if I had the entire day to myself. I'd go exercise, come back, draw a little. Go do jiu-jitsu class, come back, draw a little. Then make some food, eat, drink something, play with my dog, hang out with my girlfriend, draw a little, right? But that's like 3 hours a day, okay? So, and this is something you love to do, right? You're good at something right now that you hate to do. Like you don't even like, if you're a tax attorney right now and you hate that, think how good you got at that and you hate it. Well, think how good you're going to get at this when you love it. Okay, it's just time in. And I know that the incentive is you're not getting paid to do this. Matter of fact, it costs money to buy the paper and the pens and the ink and everything to do it. But you will get good. You have no choice but to get good at this, because everyone's brain works essentially the same. It's time in. You will get good at this. You don't have a choice but to get good at it. That's all I'll say, and hope you guys learned something from this. And we'll talk to you next time on the next video. Bye, guys.